Hi, good morning, everyone. First of all, I need to apologize for the delay of this tour. Yesterday, this tour was not delivered according to the schedule for a reason that I will explain later. Since we are in the museum here, I want to be focused on the content here, first of all. And later, after the visit in the museum, I can have a chat with you in the square outside the museum. I'm trying to keep my tone a little down because this is a museum. There are a lot of museum workers and some other visitors. I don't want to affect other people. I don't want to catch too much attention here. All right, this is the beginning of the museum visit. I'm now in the Huizhou Cultural Museum. And Huizhou is a historical term. It means Huizhou Prefecture. Anhui Province is the general successor of Huizhou culture, but not exactly the same because they're actually geographically different and culturally a little bit different. But I would say Anhui Province is the quintessential successor. This you will not be mistaken. All right, so let's start from here. And you can see there are bilingual introductions here. That really is helpful, and I will try to include as much as possible and upload this video onto YouTube for your reference if you want to. This is a gallery of some typical photos showing the Huizhou area. Huizhou, two characters. Zhou itself means prefecture. Hui appears in today's Anhui Province. Today's Anhui Province has basically two parts, northern Anhui and southern Anhui. I am in southern Anhui, the more cultural part of Anhui, and the more classical part of Anhui. There's quite a lot to see in this museum, and I believe you will enjoy it. This is a great place for us to learn about the quintessential Huizhou Prefecture culture, and also one of the main schools of Chinese culture. Here on the floor, Chrissy, you can find my YouTube on my personal profile right here on Hegel. So you can go there and have a look. This is here on the ground, the geography of Huizhou Prefecture. As I said, it's not the same as today's Anhui Province. Something noteworthy here is there's actually part of today's Jiangxi Province that is here identified as the Huizhou Prefecture, the historical part of Huizhou culture. And here is where I am. I am in the center of Huangshan City. And here is the busiest part. The museum is here in this area. The red spots represent different towns, villages, the main ones, while the green leaves represent tourist attractions. And you can see the blue line represents the river, the main river. Of course, there are some other rivers. This is the Xinanjiang River that flows through the southern Anhui province near the border with the Zhejiang province. And you know what? I can find the small village I live in here. It's right here. Here, it's here. This one. The name in Chinese is Changxi. So let me put it into perspective by stepping back a little bit. Yes, you see, this is most part of this is today's southern part of Anhui province. Well, the western part here on the left of the view is actually in the jurisdiction of today's Jiangxi province, but in olden days, it belongs to Huizhou Prefecture. Okay. I want to point out again, Huizhou culture is one of the important schools of Chinese culture. In understanding the Huizhou culture, you make a good step into learning about Chinese culture. This is the formation, let's say, of Huizhou Prefecture. It's one prefecture with 6 counties under it. And now let's have a look at those different modules here. Maybe sometimes because of the reflection, you can't see that well, and it's a bit dark here. This is a display of some old books with printed or handwritten Chinese texts. Let's skip this part, actually. But actually, these are the local annals, the local records collected from different counties under Huizhou Prefecture. And here is a Chinese introduction. So let me take it in as a reference for the video later. Yeah, anyway. And here is a model that shows the village called Huangdun, and it's considered the beginning of the major clans by different surnames in today's southern Anhui Province. All right, the name of the village is Huangdun, and I can drive to Huangdun village in half an hour from here. The Chinese introduction here says the identifiable earliest migrants into this part of China, they actually came almost 2,000 years ago in Eastern Han Dynasty. To be more exact, in the 2nd century, they moved here. And then, of course, they then went to different parts to settle in Anhui Province. And basically, the motivation of those migrations throughout Chinese history is related to disasters such as famines, peasants' rebellions, or the infighting of the royalty in power, such kind of things. Yeah. All right, here we can see. So, guys, you know what? Maybe I will not be as attentive to your comments today. But then, of course, drop me the comments, any questions, because I would come back to have a look. And as now I'm more focused on all the exhibits and also the introductions around here, as I want to, put this down finally into a video for a reference for all of us if you are interested. Yeah, okay. So, and this part you can see the pottery. Pottery is older than the bronze objects I just showed you. Yeah, and this is connected to Chinese pristine society. That can be 400 years ago or even more. 4,000, yes, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years ago, something like this. The pristine society of China. And here, the bronze objects, they are related to the Chinese feudal, pre-feudal society. Then there were actually some, states in different parts of today's, some part of China, and in each state there was a king. Yeah, and those bronze objects in olden days were created as the pieces to symbolize the power of people at different levels. Of course, most importantly for the king, and then also for the aristocrats and some other powerful figures. All right, let me move to this part, and this is a themed exhibition hall And this part is themed in Huizhou merchants, the business people. This is again the geography of Huizhou, historical Huizhou area, and you can see different lines giving lights, and these represent the main business routes. The olden day Huizhou merchants traded on for both domestic trade and also international trades. In Ming Dynasty and Qing Dynasty, of course, there were a lot of trades between China and also foreign countries. But let's see, Ming and Qing Dynasty China was not a very open society. Usually those trades were carried out in the name of the state, endorsed by the emperor. That's for sure. There were some sporadic trades that were carried out by individuals along the east coast of China, but they were illegal, and they actually risked their lives doing that. All right, here let's have a look at this part. This is the general introduction to this part of the hall. There was no town without Hui merchants. And here let's look at the 4 keywords that tell us the major businesses those merchants were engaged in olden days. Tea, timber, pawn, the olden day bank. And something missing here is also the salt, but we'll see it later, the salt. The age of Hui merchants. And here we can see a scenario with the background picture and the 2 figures. They are bidding farewell, the husband and the wife, in the river, as the man is about to travel, with the wife left behind, probably with the children and the man's family, for the lady to take care of. This is typical Chinese feudal life here in Anhui Province. People in this area are more motivated by business. So in olden days, they strike out for fortune, for opportunities, just like a bit like today's migrant workers. Yeah. The top business here is tea. Not tea, it's salt. It says here in feudal China, salt is the top of the livelihood. And in salt business, which is monopolized, there is the combination of power and business in one. This is very typical, yeah. All in Chinese here. The 4 major merchants. The short name for Anhui in one Chinese character is Huai. The 4 major merchants from this area. And here you can find their certificates for business. This is a Chinese writing pen, a writing brush holder. This is the demonstration of the business. The first one here is a pawn bank, and this one right here is a tea shop. tea leaves are preserved in those porcelain pots with the type of the tea label. See the abacus on the table. The famous tea of Anhui Province. Here, the first line on the left says, among the top famous teas of China, Huizhou tea occupies three of them. They are the black tea of Qimen, the green tea of Maofeng, and the monkey tea of Taiping County. You can see some exquisite teapots made of porcelain or purple sand. Chinese people like to appreciate their purple sand teapots. In other words, clay teapot, but they literally call it purple sand teapot. We saw one just now, and this is and here are mostly porcelain, ceramic teapots, and sipping cups. This one is a tureen for Chinese tea with a stand under it. Yeah, see the cover? Yeah. So the cover is used on one hand to keep the temperature in the beginning of the brewing, and also as a filter when you work it together with the cup to leave out the tea leaves when you sip the tea. Sometimes the tea leaves are just brewed in this kind of Chinese tureen. This is a censer, incense burner. The lumber business, wood, is one of the four major businesses. See, the big lumber is mainly used for the palace and the government authorities, and the great lumber businesses also have the official stamp. Yes. In typical Anhui architecture, they use a tremendous amount of timber. And of course, in the ancient capitals of typical Chinese architectures, you also see lots of heavy wood. This one says the distribution of timber sauce. And this is the distribution of the marketplaces of timber or the hubs of trade. And here we can see the Yangtze Delta region. Yeah. Anhui is also part of the Yangtze Delta region. This is a Jingdezhen town, extremely famous for Chinese porcelain, Jingdezhen. And Shexian is the county where I live. There's a Wangshan Mountain, and here you can drive in 2.5 hours to Hangzhou and further to Shanghai over there. And there's also a city called Suzhou. But here there's no Shanghai because Shanghai is not an ancient city. No, it doesn't exist. And also the land of today's Shanghai in Pudong didn't really then exist above the water, still underwater then. At that time, Shanghai was called Songjiang Prefecture, under the jurisdiction of Suzhou. The industrials Hui merchant manage it everywhere, and their trail is omnipresent, especially in the middle and the lower Yangtze and the canal coast advancing the commercialization. Yeah, everywhere along the Yangtze River. This is a lacquerware with the wood inside as the main material. This is a screen door on the table, screen wall on the table. And this is the map that shows us the area along the Grand Canal. The Grand Canal was built originally in Sui Dynasty, a short dynasty of China between Tang Dynasty. That is back 1,500 years ago, something like this. And it was built in different phases, and eventually it became an important river to connect Beijing, today's Beijing, and the capital of China through Ming and Qing dynasties. With Hangzhou, the historical mega city in this area. You know what? Actually, when we say the Yangtze River, it's related to the city called Yangzhou in the Yangtze Delta region of China. And it's a above medium-sized city in this area. But in olden days, probably it took more importance than it does today. And actually, when foreigners settled over there, kind of for business, they tried to create the river of Yangtze based on the name of that city called Yangzhou. That's why. All right, so Yangzhou is actually, in relation to Shanghai, is more up the Yangtze River. And you can get there today from Shanghai in 4 hours, something like this. Yeah. All right, this figure is one of the 4 merchants we saw minutes ago, and his name is Jiang Chun. There is a famous story about him. I wouldn't say that is a household story in China, but you often hear it from the mouth of a tour guide in China when you're on a group, or you are maybe travel individually when you hire a travel guide, something like this in this area. So that merchant, of course, he is from this area called Jiang Chun. Probably not his original name, yeah. And lived in Qing Dynasty, as you can tell, it's marked here. In the ruin time of Emperor Qianlong, considered the most influential and a smart emperor in Qing Dynasty, yeah. There was a story about him, and actually he was a low-born guy, and who managed to build a good connection with people in power, and finally, even the emperor. And one day when Emperor Qianlong made a visit to this part of China, among his 7 famous visits, and he saw a place, and he liked that place, and he exclaimed that, wow, this is a beautiful place, and it's just like where I live, somewhere I live in Beijing, except for a white tower, a white pagoda. On hearing this merchant, he did all he can to build a white pagoda over the night. You may wonder how he did that. He was then very big merchant in salt. So he actually asked the people to use the bags of salt to pile up to resemble something like a white pagoda. So when Emperor next morning woke up, he was so surprised and so glad that there was a white pagoda. And for the emperor was so far away, he couldn't actually see the details. But that was considered a great feat of Jiang Chun, who did for the emperor. So this is a typical story of Chinese power and business in one. All right, this is another statue. This statue, to be honest, looks a bit weird because the face doesn't look very Chinese. And this is another famous merchant of this area called Hu Xueyuan in Qing Dynasty. And this guy, he developed in Hangzhou. At his prime time, his personal wealth was half as much as the annual national treasury of the Qing government. Yeah, in Qing Dynasty. That's right. And this image kind of reminds me of Fu Manchu, an image created many years ago in the United States to represent Chinese people in a bad way, let's say. And it's very funny. And I have seen the image of Hu Xueyuan, the name of this merchant, in different occasions, but I have never seen this kind of image of him. Well, here in this museum, I see it. And here you can see the home interiors of the wealthy families in Huizhou area. There's a lot to see. Let's try our best to include as much as possible. Hopefully, I can show you some quintessential parts of it. Business method and Confucian way, yes. In olden days in China, every kid who went to school received a Confucian education. So when they grow up, when they're in the tea sector, I kept saying tea. When they're in the business sector, it's also the Confucian way that is important for their business. Confucianism is a system of lecturing people about moralities. And it's the cornerstone of Chinese culture. And here now we are entering to a different part. This part is about women behind the Hui merchants. Let's see how women then lived in feudal China in Huizhou Prefecture. He is sometimes known as the Red Hat trader. That's right, Red Hat trader, yes. Red hat or red crest. Yes, crest is the ornament on the hat. That is the symbol of the privilege he enjoyed because of his wealth. He rubbed the shoulders with the most powerful people in this country, and therefore he was given a privilege to wear yellow vest and also have the red crest on the hat. All the privileges. I believe there are also some people now watching over there who can speak and recognize Chinese. So this museum, as you can see, it has sometimes a bilingual introduction, sometimes only Chinese. And here, this is another bilingual one. Family doctrine based on formative education. Was mainly focused on how to look after parents-in-law. That's good. To be obedient to husband, to manage the household and bring up children, which was in line with the four virtues: morality, proper speech, modest manner, and diligent work. This is a setting in which we can see the woman at home giving remonstrations to her children, and the son is writing with the Chinese brush. The girl is listening. With her hands crossed at the back. You know what? This posture is a posture of a defiance. Usually, it's not a good thing for you to do in front of strict Chinese parents, especially in feudal society. Only people with power, with the status, can do that. They keep they cross their hands behind the back. All right, this is a statue that shows a woman doing the stitch work, important of their virtues. There are some accessories, silk embroidered accessories they wear. The purses, oh no, this is not a purse, this is a perfume sachet. A hat, literally called in Chinese tiger head hat. This is the shawl, Chinese shawl, silk embroidered shawl. And there are some other pieces over there. Nicely done. But have a look at this, the 3-inch lotus shoes. That's hard to look at. This is the notorious 3-inch lotus shoes for women in feudal China. Sometimes I think, a lot of things haven't really changed that much if you look at the mentality and how people think. But you have to also admit that a lot of things also have changed. And at least in how women in China live, you will see it's a sea change. It's a sea change, probably the most dramatic changes among many others in China, in software. And in some cities in China, especially in Shanghai, it goes so far that actually men are obedient to women, subservient to women in typical Shanghai family. So usually a lot of men in other parts of China always laugh at the Shanghai men for them being hand-packed. Yeah, but this is not a unique phenomenon only to Shanghai men. It kind of is gaining its momentum across China in more developed city areas, not so much in rural. But you can say it has also been influenced, arguably. These two pieces were created in Republic of China. Flowers and a bird, silk embroidered. One people group don't bind their women's feet, the Hakkas. Okay. Hakkas. Good. Probably because the Hakkas live away from the central part of China, away from the cultural hub like Huizhou Prefecture, Suzhou Prefecture, and some other places closer to central China, closer to the ancient capitals. That's why probably. Yeah. So Hakkas and many other clans in their areas in olden days of China, they lived in the remote border regions. Maybe this is one of the reasons, I guess. And here is the reception hall of a wealthy family with the lady sitting on her chair doing maybe the needlework without her husband, because as I told you, always a husband is the one who travels, the one who works somewhere away from home, the one who calls the shots at home. Let's have a look at this one. Respecting elders and supporting family. Yeah. Yes, you can see women at that time had to do a lot. And this is the introduction only in Chinese. And I like some description here that says, here there is an example of a woman who performed her duty really well. And at the bottom it says, even mother-in-law is strict, serious, demanding, and you have to be compliant to, not to obey her will. Yeah, this is very typical. And this influence is still tangible today to a great extent. And it's not specific just between the woman and the mother-in-law. I'm talking about it in a more general sense, just between people. All right, here is the one that shows the major jobs the woman does. Here, first of all, the first episode is tea picking, and then wood cutting, weaving, stitch work, harvesting autumn, harvesting wheat, pounding rice, feeding livestock. And you can see some lacquerwares. For the wedding, for the marriage. This is a fruit basket with auspicious symbols. This is a tray. Dragon and phoenix chest, a small chest. Another chest, created in Qing Dynasty, with figures. Yeah. In olden days, lacquerware was an necessary part for the wedding. Of course, only rich families, well-being families could afford it. Here, helping the husband do business. Who is brilliant? Debutantes. Huh, it's a French word. Then women, even in a wealthy family, could not sit for the examination, which was an important way for men to change the fate of their life. But nevertheless, there still have been some excellent women that we can see here and doing their contribution to the society. A Pan woman, a brave woman, a poet, another scholar. Another scholar? Yes. Scholar? Teacher? Actress, maybe. And she died during the Cultural Revolution in a persecution campaign. Did I say he? She, yes, she. All right. Teachers. 2 teachers here. And 1 theatrist. Huizhou Women, the title of this video. This is their life. They get married without seeing their husband. This is their sedan chair used for wedding. The ceremony. There's a lady sitting in this sedan chair with her face veiled. She can only be unveiled at the moment of consummation with her husband. All right, there's still a lot to see, so we have to keep moving. These are the certificates given to women in olden days who committed some kind of moral virtues, let's say. The most important among others is loyalty to husband. Kind of literally said in Chinese, being chaste to a husband before marriage, during marriage, after the marriage even. I mean, when I say after marriage, I actually mean when a husband somehow dies, there's no chance for this woman to marry again. There's no chance. And of course, there's no chance. And when you really do that, sometimes you are lucky enough you get a certificate for that. Or even get a memorial archways built for you for some reason. Yeah. These pictures show how people lived in Song Dynasty and related to the story of a famous scholar in this area called Zhu Xi. And we can see his statue later. Famous person. All right, now we have covered the first floor, I think. Let me go to the second floor. There are 2 floors. Before the tour started, there was actually a group of students, visitors. They came in a group, and of course, they were a little bit loud. And one boy took out his phone. And at that moment, the teacher pointed her finger at the boy in a very harsh criticism. And then I saw the boy just a chortle away in an awkward way. And the group of students then, I think they were also escorted by two military instructors. Perhaps this is their military training. Schools here in China, they sometimes give children military training. It's a session that lasts for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And usually they have, each group has one military instructor assigned. And usually those military instructors, they come from the armed police under the under People's Liberation Army. And this is the hall that features the education of Huizhou Prefecture. Yeah, this is also an important part. Education. This is what people think on. The cultural heritage of Confucius, yes. Sometimes people talk about Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. Well, Confucianism is something that comes to you when you are a child. This is a difference from other two, let's say, ways of thinking. Different. Taoism and Buddhism is something that you acquire when you grow older into the society. But here, children, when they're in school, they receive Confucian education. A private school, there's a teacher giving lessons to the kids from wealthy families in Qing Dynasty. And you can tell they're from Qing Dynasty because of their hairstyle for men, the ponytail. And they all wore long robes. And there's a portrait of Confucius there. Confucius, yeah. Some famous scholars here. Flourishing education. There are some numbers here. The number of private schools and villager. Let's have a look. In one county called Shexian County, the number of a village is 885, while the number of private schools in the 23rd year of the Republic of China, that is, let's say, 1935, yes, 569. You can see the relations also in other counties of Huizhou Prefecture. I believe this part of China, for sure, saw a higher proportion of private schools and other schools in relation to the number of villagers across China. This is probably one of the most, this is the place that attaches great importance to education as a tradition, though it is Confucian education, better than non-education at all. Child has hands behind back again. Oh, really? Yeah, this is something they learn from adults. They do what adults do. Home of countless successful imperial examination candidates, yeah. Look. In Ming Dynasty alone, Huizhou Prefecture saw 1,100 successful candidates of the court examination. This is a story that shows a man who achieves his highest scholarship, like today's doctor, or even higher. This is the memorial archway you can see in Huizhou area. Usually they were built as a monument to honor those successful scholars. This is a small village called Yansi, and I've been to this village during the Spring Festival this time. And I actually filmed a tour of Chinese Carnival, the temple fair over there. Well, this village in olden days saw 4 top scholars at different times. This is phenomenal. And here you can see the 4 scholars at different times. This man in Tang Dynasty, they have different appearances. And this is in Song Dynasty, Ming Dynasty, and Qing Dynasty. Thank you, Catherine. This is a statue of Zhu Xi. He is considered the most important scholar in accordance with Confucianism. And here in this case, you can see his image is created to kind of resemble the archetype of Confucius. Here's the name of him, Zhu Xi. He actually lived a long time ago in Southern Song Dynasty. Look, 1130 to 12. If Confucius is a god in China, he is like the demigod. And he was born in this area. Have a look. This is the tablet held by officials during imperial audience board. This is a piece of wood held by an official when they attended the court, the meeting with the emperor. Yeah. In Ming Dynasty, in particular, they actually don't do it in Qing Dynasty. It's more about Ming Dynasty and maybe a little earlier, but not in Qing. They have to hold it in their hands, and when they want to say something, to the emperor, they have to hold it in a polite way to appear in front of the emperor to say something. This is a more modern educator called Tao Xingzhi. He lived in 1891 to 1946, and he went to school in the United States. In 1914, he was in Illinois University. And this is another episode in which he appears together with another scholar who is also from this area, called Hu Shi. Maybe Hu Shi enjoys even more reputation than Tao Xingzhi to some degree. So this is a photo they were taken at Columbia University. Let's see, here is a Hu Shi. He left China before 1949, the takeover of the Communist Party, Hu Shi. He has a huge fan base in China, actually. He is considered a scholar who knows both Chinese culture and Western philosophies as one of the representatives. The origins of a new Confucianism. This is a movement to reconfigure the Confucianism. These two scholars, they lived around the same time as Zhu Xi. You know what? In the Neo-Confucianism, they kind of polished the Confucianism to a higher level. And they kind of managed to systematically justify Confucianism in regulating people's life. For instance, they say in the Neo-Confucianism that loyalty is the law of nature for a subject. And being dutiful is the law of nature or the law of heaven for a woman in relation to her husband. So this is what I meant, the new Confucianism. They just put it more into updated the system. The clan system of Huizhou. You probably have seen some ancestral temples on my tours before, and this is the topic related to the ancestral temples, the clans. This is the distribution of famous villagers in Huizhou Prefecture. My village is not one of the famous villages. It should be somewhere here. But our village is in the jurisdiction of this town called Shendu town, Shendu. And I have shown you Shendu town a few times. Here is the distribution of renowned clans in the area. Looks like it is very new. I'm surprised that photos and memorabilia survived the Cultural Revolution. Yes. Yeah, this museum is remodeled, a remodeled one. This is the chart that shows the radiation of clans, how they have moved within Huizhou area. Ancestral hall for ancestor worship. Here the clan members decided on the matters of the clan, punished those who violated the clan rules, and enshrined the ancestral tablets for sacrifice. The facades and some interiors of the ancestral temples in the area. The main ancestral temples in the area that still exist, only in text. English test is very well done. That's good. Oh, look, this is the replica of one of the most well-preserved and grandest ancestral temples of the area. You can see the doors in a row. Clan rule and the regulation. The patriarch is giving his speech. There's a clerk taking records at the desk. Memorial archway. the distribution of the memorial archways. Some are two-dimensional. Most actually are two-dimensional on the plane. Well, a few of them are three-dimensional. There are four sides of, instead of two sides of an memorial archway, like this one here. The replicas. The man down at the end of the corridor here is Zhu Xi again, the demigod of Confucianism. This time he looks different. He looks more like himself. In a way, because nobody actually knows how he looks. Chinese painting is very abstract. They finish a painting with just a few strokes, and a lot of things look quite similar, simplified. Genealogy, revision, and root exploration. Wu Shi Zongci. Wu is the last name of the family here. Wu. A scroll painting of the ancestors. Technology in Huizhou. Xing'an medicine, part of the traditional Chinese medicine. Stars of science and technology. Let me see who I have heard of in Chinese. Maybe, yeah, one for sure. Two or three, I'm not so sure. I don't know most of them. I don't know. I haven't heard of their names even. Never heard. Zhan Tianyong is the famous one. He lived in 1861 to 1919. He went to school. He went to Yale University in the United States when he was 17 years old. And his contribution is in engineering, and more specifically, railways. He returned to China in 1881. Yes, railway pioneer of China, Zhan Tianyong. A batch of pioneers in different sectors of Chinese industries, mainly in the Republic China period. After 1949, people talk about maybe those representing figures like Qian Xuesen, Qian Sanqiang, who actually also went to school in the United States and maybe other countries. And when they returned to China, they actually managed to help China uh, have its first atomic bomb, first helium bomb, first satellite in a period between 1960s and 1970s. And here, this is the hall that characterizes the art of Huizhou. Let's have a quick look. Here's the ink stick, and I'm going to do a tour on the ink stick this afternoon in the Huizhou Ink Factory. It's the most famous ink factory in this area. The ink stick is one of the four treasures you find in Chinese scholars' study. Have a look at this one. This is a big ink pad. There are four famous places in China that produce the good ink pads, and Shexian County is one of them. A good ink pad is supposed to have eight virtues displayed here: strong, smooth, soft, let's say firm, tenuous, sticky, clean, and beautiful. Ink pads made in Qing and Ming dynasties. These are the ones made by famous artists. Painting school of Xing'an. Xing'an is the name of the river. Xing'anjiang. This is the representative of the Xing'an school of painting, a monk called Jianjiang. I can't talk about it. I don't know enough about it. This is the monk again. The painting. Chinese abstract style in just a few strokes, black and white, very light colors. Here is the gallery. Thank you, Laurie. We can see some common subjects in Chinese paintings: bamboo, plum, mountain, water. Yeah, they kind of harbor their aspirations in nature. Usually, in the real politics, Chinese people throughout history have not been able to do anything much. A lot of scholars got very wrongly treated. Uh, so it's not just something of the Cultural Revolution. It's quite a constant topic. This is a famous artist called Huang Binghong, Republic of China. This is his painting. There's a museum of Huang Binghong in Shanghai. Have a look. Two men of letters are meeting. They're having a dialogue, maybe, by the creek. They're sitting on the rocks with the pine tree above their head. No features. This is the part for carving. 篆刻. The carving of the seals used by men of letters, or maybe ordinary people in an official occasion. Look, stamp. Huizhou painting again, and this is the painting on wood. It's not a painting on wood, it's actually the cutting on wood. And you can later use the wood as the base to make and copy the pictures on the paper. Look. Yeah, wood print, that's right. A lot to see, a lot to take in. You know what? I think we have done. We have seen we've seen it. All right. Let's go back to the first floor. Wood block. Yes. Oh, there's more here. Wow. There's another hall here. The Huizhou architecture. Let's have a look, because this is something obvious for you to get the idea about the Huizhou culture, the buildings, architecture. And I'm standing on a model with the glass protection. This is the layout of a village based on feng shui. Yeah, the name of that village is Xidi. It's a famous tourist attraction. And here you can see, look, feng shui, the Chinese geomancy. Yeah, mountain and water. There are mountains at the back and water going around. in the front. Look, there's the picture taken from that village. Typical. Unity of heaven and man's site selection of ancient villages. Based on feng shui, in the spirit of man and heaven in one, or man and nature in one, in other words. There's a reflection of yin and yang, symbols created for good luck, and tokens for evading bad luck. There are also some practical functions. For example, the fire prevention, irrigation, washing, and shipping. Sure. Be practical. This is also a very typical Chinese notion, 道法自然, in the way of nature. In the way of nature sounds more Taoist. When someone tells you that be happy by abandoning some excessive desires, he's talking about Confucianism. Oh, no, sorry. He's talking about Buddhism. And when someone tells you that be polite, be obedient to avoid further troubles, he's a Confucianist. All right, here are some details of the typical horsehead gable of Anhui architecture. The gable that sticks out from the roof and the facade of the building. And there are 3 different patterns here. The tail of a finch style, a sitting container style, and a sitting gargoyle style. This is the facade, the entrance to somebody's home, a wealthy family with status. It's called gatehouse. And this is a striding house. See, the first floor is empty. The second floor is suspended. There are passages in the first floor for people to walk through. It's called striding house. A lot of carvings. The famous 3 sculptures are in Huizhou. Wood carving, brick carving, and stone carving are the 3 carvings. Actually, many didn't survive the Cultural Revolution. The most part didn't survive, I would say. Just have a look at how highly the embossments, the lines here are. Wood carving covered in gold gilt. When I say gold, it doesn't have to be just the material gold. It can be an alloy of zinc and bronze in proportion. All right, a lot of things. Wood carving, yeah. For example, here, this one. A lot of symbols. Chinese culture, traditional culture is full of symbols. Have a look. All the lattice work. A lot of work. This is a fighting scene. All right, finally, concluding remark. The scholar Tao Xingzhi said, in the world, only Switzerland can be compared with hometown Huizhou. Hu Shi stated that without the Hui person, there only can be a village. In this territory, there are many ancient residents in groups. Civilization like beautiful flowers. Leisurely strolling each village, you can turn a page of history. Everywhere stepping on a flagstone, you can touch a dynasty. The word Hui means beauty. Huizhou is the fine place. Its ancients have created and left the outstanding traditional culture in here. Since the Song Dynasty, the Huizhou society has pursued democracy, advocated the government by law, stressed the fair, advocated the justice, being in good faith, lived friendly, being stable and order in society, developed being full of the energy. These are all sorts of endeavors to build peaceful and healthy society at that time. And without doubt, these bring us the precious inspiration and a beneficial model to construct the socialism harmony today. The historical Huizhou was the harmonious society's model of Chinese ancient times. But your trouble of the Hui culture this time is also turning and appreciating a sincere historical culture textbook. We are believing the washed off is the cosmetics, the increased is dignified, the implication is anticipation. Let us pray for heavenly together. Huizhou's tomorrow will be happier, more harmonious. All right, here's the conclusion. Let me go to the first floor. Oh, Richard says, yes, there are big buyers for the big auction houses, such as Christie's and Sotheby's. Okay. Yeah, let me take you to the first floor and eventually show you the building of the museum from outside. This is the cultural center of Huangshan City. There are some museums, exhibition halls, and government offices around here. Oh, this place. This place is now a themed exhibition of porcelain, Chinese Ming and Qing porcelain. I've been to this museum only once before. And last time I remember the hall that I just showed you featured the culture of a Chinese uncorrupted culture of the government. Yeah, I remember. Now it has been something else. It has changed. There are some gift shops for people to buy some souvenirs, books.出口的话在这儿是吧？那边好像关掉了，我看。Oh, thank you, John. Really a lot to see, and I'm going outside, and you can see there's the avenue. It's a broad street. And this morning when I came into the museum, I saw, around 9 o'clock, I saw a lot of workers who uh, just came in the same time for their work. And I parked my car over there with the the front of the car facing outside. So when I left the car, I was immediately pointed out and stopped by the security guard in the museum. And he came out to tell me that I can't do that. I have to park my car properly with the front of the car facing to the center of the square. And I was curious and surprised. And I asked the security guard, half jokingly, why. And he told me that this is the window place of the window area of the city. So people have to comply with the rules from up. So you have to do just like what other people do the right thing, point your cars to the center. Yeah, so I corrected my conduct. And there's a pagoda. You can see some other buildings around. Yeah, there are the library, some other museums, the court, just the center. Looks like a city. Yeah, this is actually a city, the Huangshan city. All right. You know what? Yesterday I almost at last minute canceled the tour. And that thing actually went to my head almost for the whole day. I felt really sorry for that. Yes, there was something personal about me, actually, because yesterday actually was a holiday. Qingming Festival, the festival for people to sweep the tombs of the ancestors. It's a public holiday. So, because, I'm not that familiar with the museums in this area, as I am with Shanghai. Actually, so before I, you know, left my home, was I started to think seriously if the museum and also the Huizhou ink plants would be really open on a public holiday. I'm not so sure about how they do it in this area. So at last minute, I tried to make a phone call. I checked on the internet, and there's updated information about the museum, but it says you have to consult with the museum yourself. So I made a phone call, but for a while I didn't find the phone call, and also I got to know that the Huizhou ink factory. I tried to call them, and there was no answer at all. That phone call I made before, and knew there was always someone who answered the phone. But yesterday there was no answer at a few attempts. So then I came to realize maybe it's better for me to just cancel, because I'm not sure. I don't want to drive 1 hour to get here with my children. Actually, I intended to bring my children together here to see the museums. I didn't want to just come here for nothing, which would be bad for both me and also for you. So that's why I canceled the tour. But this is a lesson. Next time, maybe I should just be more prepared in advance. Because this is an indoor museum. It's different from an outdoor place that I can basically just go and film. Normally, this is indoor place, so I didn't want to come for nothing. All right. Thank you for watching this tour, and I will upload on the YouTube. I'm not very savvy on the technology for, sometimes, I don't want to be engaged in too many different platforms. So now I'm more focused on YouTube. So if you are interested in my tours and my life and also Chinese people's life, you can just keep an eye on YouTube. And maybe I would also use Twitter and Facebook to see how they can be better utilized by me. So now I have my Facebook that is available. You can check on my profile. Yeah. So that's it for this tour. Here is look. This is the major intersection. Very broad streets. Huangshan Modern Industry Park. There's the museum. Good landscape. Very green. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, River. Oh, D, you joined late. Thank you, Laurie. See you next time. Have a good one.